Good morning. My name is Kevin Burt with the Department of Workforce Services Unemployment Insurance Division. And today we're doing Utah's Unemployment Insurance Claims Report for the week of October 25th through October 31st. We ended the week with claims at 3,866. So that's how many people filed a new claim last week. That last week was 3,993, so it's down a little over 3%, and new claims have actually been down over the last 3 consecutive weeks. The total benefits paid out last week was $11.9 million in unemployment insurance was paid out to those that were eligible for the unemployment insurance programs. This is important to have a little bit of context when you're discussing these unemployment claim numbers. So 3,866 in comparison to last year. Last year we received about 1,100 claims a week. So it is about 3 to 4 times higher than last year, but again significantly less than the number of claims that we experienced at the earlier phases of the pandemic in March and April. Traditional, meaning the state unemployment, went down relatively small, about 0.6%. Pandemic, which is for the self-employed, went down 4.4%, and the extended unemployment benefit went down about 9%. It is important to note that unemployment insurance, especially when it comes to new claims, has a seasonality to it, meaning that there are jobs in Utah, especially with the winter, the harsh winters in Utah, that they become unemployed during the winter seasons and file for unemployment insurance every single year. And so every year, unemployment insurance will see an increase in claims during the winter months. And so it is going to be important as we kind of evaluate these unemployment claims numbers to account for the seasonal nature of increases, and it may be unrelated to the pandemic-related unemployment claims. We haven't seen to date an increase in seasonal claims, and it's probably because of the nice weather that we're experiencing, but it does appear that that weather is going to be turning, so we will have to monitor just seasonal increases as the colder weather comes in. Remember, another good way to look at how the volume of unemployment claims is a continued claim. Unemployment has an initial application. That's what we just reviewed. And then every week a person must file an attestation or a continued claim that they remain unemployed, that they have looked for work, and that they continue to need the benefit. Last week, the total continued claims was 31,239. That is down about 5% from the previous week. And a good note, being Melissa the mathematician, it's about down for 26 consecutive weeks. So continued claims has gone down in Utah for 26 consecutive weeks. Now 31,200 people continues to be a lot of people that are seeing disruption to their employment and are needing the unemployment benefit. It's about 4 times higher than the average number of continued claims last year. Last year we had about 8,900 continued claims a week. Traditional claims, remember the state benefit went down 5.711%. The pandemic unemployment assistance, or the self-employed, went down 9.8%, so about 10%. And the pandemic has also decreased in volume for now 15 consecutive weeks as the economy continues to recover. And then the extended benefits went down a little over 1%. So since March 15th is when the Unemployment Insurance Division saw significant increases in the unemployment claims. We have taken 333,648 claims. For comparison, last year we took 63,000. So during the last 7 months, we have taken about 5 years worth of claims. Now we responded to that, providing much needed economic relief to the individuals who have seen that disruption, and we have paid out $1,588,000,000 in unemployment benefits to eligible Utahns since March 15th. And that's about 8 years of payments, meaning the total unemployment benefits paid over the previous 8 years. We're nearing that with the amount paid out over the last 7 months. And with that, we'll go ahead and open it up to any questions. Yes, and thank you for the question. It's a great question. And so the question is, okay, it's November, so it's nearing the end of the year. Can we do kind of a reminder of the CARES Act programs specific to unemployment insurance and some of their limitations? So let me start with the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. So the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance is a new program that was administered in the state of Utah with CARES Act funds. It's a fully federally funded program that is temporary in nature. So unemployment insurance it covers what are called covered employees, meaning employers report their employees' wages, and based on those wages, they pay a tax. That tax is deposited into a trust fund, and that is what is used to pay unemployment benefits. So it's based on employer taxes. Now, there are many people that are self-employed or work in what's called the gig economy, and they do not have an employer. They don't report those wages. They do not pay that tax, so they are traditionally ineligible for unemployment insurance. With the significant impact of this pandemic and the closure of the economy early on, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program was created at a national federal level. And what it does is it offers unemployment to those that are not eligible for the traditional state unemployment benefit, that were connected to the workforce, meaning through self-employment or gig, and they have lost that employment as a direct result of the pandemic. And what it did is it resulted in an unemployment benefit fully federally funded for those that fit that criteria. And similar to those on unemployment, they have to file a weekly claim attesting to that they remain unemployed as a direct result of the pandemic. And so what we've seen is we've seen a lot of people apply for it, and similar to the state benefit, they have been transitioning off as the economy has began to open and has began to recover. For example, let's say you were an Uber driver, and in March when we all had to stay home, stay safe, and the economy closed, then immediately an Uber driver had become unemployed. But as the economy has reopened, now they are not unemployed as a direct result of the pandemic because they can continue being an Uber driver. And so the unemployment benefit was there for them until the economy reopened. Now, it is important to understand that the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program is associated with the CARES Act and does have limitations. And I want to highlight two of them. One of them is that the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance is limited to 39 weeks, meaning that an individual can only receive up to 39 weeks. And once that 39 weeks has exhausted, then there is no more available benefit to that person through the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. Why that matters now is because we are well past 30 weeks since this pandemic began. So if an individual applied for the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance and has been on it since the onset, it is important to understand that they are near exhaustion, meaning that the benefit will just simply cease to be available, even if the individual remains unemployed. That's really critical to understand. It's unrelated to a person's employment, and it's unrelated to the pandemic. It's just a matter of it's limited to 39 weeks. And so it's really critical, and we've always emphasized it's very important for individuals to understand unemployment is certainly a great program, but it is a time-limited program. So people on pandemic need to actively look for work as they are likely nearing exhaustion. Another thing to keep in mind that the CARES Act program, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, has an expiration date of December 26th, meaning that the program itself ceases to be funded effective December 26th. Right now, there is discussion of extended stimulus talks, those stalled before the election. We don't know what will happen at a congressional level post-election. But what we do know right now is the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance is set to expire on December 26th of this year, regardless if an individual has done the 39 weeks or not. Again, that shows the critical nature of actively looking for work where the opportunities exist, even if the place where a person has worked has not returned and not recovered. The unemployment program will not survive or not last the length of this pandemic. And so individuals need to look for opportunities where they exist in the current circumstances in the economy. And the only reason we tell this is not to, we just have to be honest about the limitations of the program. And individuals need to be prepared that December 26th is less than 2 months away. So we want to be realistic about what the program is and how long it can support someone. The other thing that other CARES Act program that's related to unemployment insurance is the 13-week extended benefit. And what that does is it allows an individual that was on state unemployment benefits that exhausted those benefits to get an additional 13 weeks of federally funded benefits. That also has an expiration date of December 26th. So both the 13-week extension and the pandemic unemployment assistance for the self-employed gig worker currently have an expiration date of December 26th. Again, we just want to highlight certainly the limitations so that people that are desperately needing these benefits can plan accordingly. The positive thing is that Utah's economy is recovering. It is showing some progress, and there are certainly industries that are doing very well. It's just a matter of actively looking for industries, even if it's work in industries that have proven to be resilient, that have proven to grow, even if it's in a different industry than what you have worked in before. And so we'll always be able to provide those services at jobs.utah.gov. Actively look, we have over 30,000 jobs to be able to help people who are nearing the limitations of these CARES Act programs. So the question is, are we seeing an increase in denial rates, or are there more people being denied unemployment benefits? And I think the answer is no, we're not seeing an increase in denials. There are a couple things that really are important, again, and it's the exhaustion rate. Remember, when you first apply for unemployment insurance, you make a claim against your previous wages. And what will happen when you first apply is we will do a monetary calculation based on those wages that you have earned over the last 5 quarters. And at that time, we'll make a decision of how much money you're eligible for per week and how many weeks you're eligible for the benefit. It is not a income-based program, meaning if I still have no income, I can continue to get it every week. Your initial decision will say how many weeks you're eligible for. And so we are seeing people start to exhaust their benefit, meaning they have just simply made claim to the max number of weeks they are eligible for, and then as a result, they are denied the unemployment assistance benefit because there are no more weeks to claim. If an individual returns to work and has more wages, and then after another several quarters applies, they can make a claim against those wages. But currently, as we've said in many of these in the past, the unemployment program is time limited. It can only be up to 26 weeks with a 13-week extension. We are well over 30 weeks when it comes to the initial increase in unemployment claims, so we are seeing people exhaust the benefit. That's why actively looking for work remains critical. The other thing that I would say is probably as the economy opens, remember the pandemic unemployment assistance is a federally funded program with federal rules, meaning that we are required, if we want to administer the program, to follow the federal guidelines. One of the guidelines of the pandemic unemployment assistance, remember that's a self-employed or gig worker, is that you have to remain unemployed as a direct result of the pandemic. And as the Utah economy continues to stay open and continues to grow, every week we have to evaluate whether the individual that's applying is unemployed as a direct result of the pandemic. If we do not make that determination or make it incorrectly, it will result in an overpayment because, again, we have to follow the federal rules. So those that are self-employed, I mentioned before an Uber driver. Right now an Uber driver can work, so they are not unemployed because of the pandemic, because right now there is no restrictions preventing an Uber driver from working. So we're probably seeing some increases in denials with that as the economy continues to open and continue to recover. And so the question is, okay, what if I get COVID or I'm asked to quarantine, can I apply for unemployment assistance? And the answer is yes. The pandemic unemployment assistance specifically covers individuals that are unable to work because they have COVID or they've been asked to quarantine. And so an individual that fits this criteria should absolutely apply. Keep in mind that an individual that is asked to quarantine, that does not mean that they are eligible for 39 weeks of benefits. An individual that is asked to quarantine may be limited to being eligible for the time they are required to quarantine because they are unemployed or unable to work as a direct result of COVID. But once they have no longer been asked to quarantine, then they can return to work. And so the program would be limited to the quarantine period. Okay. And that's an excellent reminder. Is unemployment the only option? And the answer is no. Remember, there are there are grants available to businesses to apply for, small businesses to apply for, to be able to continue to pay their employees that have been asked to quarantine. And so that may be a better option. If you're certainly wanting to retain your talented employees, those funds are available for small businesses to apply for, to continue to pay their employees, to create that safe environment, and just keep them on their payrolls with that grant. And the best website to apply? Okay, and that's coronavirus.utah.gov. Click on the business link, and what it will do is it'll provide for businesses those opportunities. And if you are just an individual that has it, and maybe your business is not aware of it, certainly point your employers to that as a resource. Unemployment, again, is available, but remember, unemployment is also about a 40 to 50% wage replacement. And so it could be that certainly these small business grants are a better opportunity for individuals that fit this criteria. Okay, and with that, we'll go ahead and end